Folks, we're visiting today with Julie Robinson of the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association and Michael Biafore with Biafore Landscape Development. Julie and Michael, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Hey, good morning, Jim. Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure to be here. We appreciate it.
Positively West Virginia is powered by BreezeLine high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
Well, guys, it's great to have you with us, and I look forward to discussing the whole idea of landscaping in West Virginia. And I think it's an awesome time that people are, it's springtime in West Virginia, and people are thinking about their lawns, they're thinking about their landscape. And this is just a great opportunity to have you guys here in the studio to talk about everything nursery and landscape related, right?
All things.
So Julie, you're the executive director for the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association. What is it that you do?
Correct. It's a nonprofit professional trade association. So we exist really for our members and for the public that we serve is the mission statement anyway.
Yeah.
So we provide certification opportunities. We provide education opportunities. We do scholarships. What else do we do, Michael?
Well, we promote the industry and we do lobbying. We monitor laws that affect us. It's just pretty much whatever association does for its members.
Yeah. So Nursery and Landscape Association, when I think of that, I think of the green industry as it's known, right?
Correct.
And so everything related to, our public spaces, right? Government spaces with trees and shrubbery and flowers and lawns, down to the homeowner, right?
Correct.
And so I think that's amazing. Michael, tell us a little bit about your company. You're a member of the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association, a board member, but tell us a little bit about Biafore Landscape Development.
Well, our company was actually founded in 1963 by my uncle and my dad after working with their dad in the 40s and 50s. So we've been in business since then. My brother and I went to WVU and got degrees in landscape architecture and horticulture. We moved away from the state for a while, moved back in the late 90s with the intention of developing the company, creating business within the state, providing jobs, and growing our business. So we've been doing that ever since.
Yeah, amazing. And full disclosure, my wife and I are customers of Biafore Landscape Development. You take care of our lawn, and you do a great job too.
Thanks.
And I
Appreciate
that. Julie, you don't know this, but we're the first house in the neighborhood. So everybody in our development drives by our house, and every spring, summer, and fall. Your lawn looks amazing. That's partly.
What a great advertisement!
Yeah,
spot
it's a great advertisement. I'm a big fan of Michael and his company, and so Julie, talk a little bit about the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association. Where is it? Is it based in Charleston? Is it a statewide thing?
I am in Charleston,
okay,
but it is a statewide association. This is our 85th year of existence. Yeah, we started in 1939.
Congratulations.
Yes, and it was then the West Virginia Nursery Men's Association. It started out as a group of growers, nursery owners, and has expanded to include landscape, but in just really all kinds of businesses that support the green industry.
I think that's one thing that people lose sight of is how diverse our industry is.
Yeah.
We've had an identity problem in the state, and we're trying to remedy that with some marketing, videos, and reaching out to the general public. But we don't just cut grass and we don't just plant plants. I mean, it's a profession for everybody, from people who are into science and horticulture, chemistry, people who are into construction, design, art. Our companies do irrigation, lighting, turf installation, planting installation. We construct patios and walls and driveways. So there really is something for everybody, and I think that people really don't have a grasp on what this profession has to offer.
Yeah. So you mentioned like patios and driveways. That's traditionally known as hardscaping,
That
right?
is correct, yes.
And you got landscaping, you got horticulture, you got the nursery component of it. Michael, talk a little bit about all those different things and what it actually means. I'm just a lay person here, but give us some industry speak on that.
Well, what it means is that the landscape profession offers so much to either a homeowner or a residential, commercial, industrial client, from design, consulting with clients, developing their dreams into reality in their backyard, creating outdoor living spaces and COVID really had an impact on this because people were staying home more, and they realized that if I'm not going and spending a bunch of money on vacation, I can take that money, develop my backyard, and have a vacation year round.
Absolutely.
But then once that's done, you pass it down to the construction or the hardscaping, the landscaping, really create visual and functional appeal for the clients and create outdoor rooms, so to speak. So that's when the construction, the softscaping, the hardscaping come in. And then, people want to, low maintenance is kind of the thing these days, which that's a relative term.
Right.
But the irrigation, lighting, services our members provide, such as mowing, mulching, pruning, weeding, kind of wrap that all together. So, even if you're on the business side of thing and you want to be an accountant in the green industry or a business manager or a salesperson, there's really, again, something for everybody.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. So, Michael, you talked about this is a multi-generational business, and you currently run it with your brother. You guys are like co-owners, basically.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And you'll find that a lot in the green industry and the growing industry.
Yes.
It does tend to pass down from generation to generation.
Well, you build a company, you don't want to just close it when you're ready to hang it up, right? And you
Correct.
can pass it on, and it's something that's much needed. But when you're describing, all those items that go into, what the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association strives for and supports, the landscaping, the planting, the ease of use, the creating an outdoor space, whether it's a room or a patio or an outdoor kitchen even, right? I've seen a lot of those popping up around my friends and so forth. It all comes down to really a quality of life. When you go and visit a university and they have a beautiful garden, or the landscape out front of the building is well taken care of, it just makes you feel good, right?
It is. We actually, one of our guest speakers last year at our winter symposium was the caretaker groundsperson for Ole Miss, and he spoke that when the new president came here, he came to this person and said, "I want this to be the best landscaped campus in the country."
Wow.
And you got 3 years to do it. Well, they did it, and they've won national awards for this is the best landscape campus in the country. But that atmosphere attracts students and the parents into a comfortable place. It makes them want to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's inviting.
It
Right.
is inviting.
Ultimately.
Yes.
And that's what I guess what I'm saying about the quality of life. I know just from my own anecdotal evidence, I like being in a space that's manicured and tidy and not overgrown.
Sure.
And, when you especially in the real estate business, you want to make sure that your house has good curb appeal, and landscaping is a big part of that.
It's a huge part
And
of
I
that.
think as part of the design process, the psychological impacts that come into play, manipulating the 3D spaces. We're kind of like architects for the outside.
Yeah.
So we're creating rooms, floors, walls, ceilings, but outside. So the idea is to get people to actually appreciate that and think of us in that manner, as opposed to somebody you call after your house is built and then say, "Can you make it look pretty?"
Yeah.
Because we can save you a lot of time and money.
Not
getting it
having
earlier,
to
we
correct
can get
things
on-
that were done
Correct.
wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting, and thank you guys for sharing that. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from BreezeLine. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, BreezeLine is the best gig in town. Here at Interaction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use BreezeLine. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about BreezeLine's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Julie Robinson. She is the Executive Director for West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association, and my friend Michael Biafore with Biafore Landscape Development. Julie, you had mentioned scholarships are one of the things that the trade association does and provides for the state of West Virginia. Talk about that. What does that mean?
Well, we are very interested in encouraging young people to go into the green industries. So we put our little money behind our support with some scholarship opportunities. One, last year we we awarded $35,000 in scholarships.
That's
so
amazing.
that's significant. We selected 5 recipients for our Marcus Rennick Scholarship, which is up to a $5,000 scholarship to juniors and seniors in the who are studying landscape, architecture, or horticulture, or greenhouse management, something like that. They have to be West Virginia natives. They don't have to be in-state students, but they have to be West Virginia natives. So we had 5, as it turned out, all here at WVU, mostly landscape architect.
That's amazing.
And horticulture.
Well, you mentioned landscape architecture. You probably don't, neither of you probably know this, but I actually had a vision of that as being a career at one point in my life and took a landscape architecture class. But that program was in fear of being eliminated at West Virginia University, part of the massive budget cuts that happened a couple of years ago. And Julie, as I understand it, your association was really instrumental in keeping that program here in West Virginia.
Our members were just appalled at the prospect of losing the only accredited landscape architecture program in the state. If it were gone, not only would that we lose benefits to the community and municipalities and all the important work that landscape architects do, we would be, in essence, driving students out of state to find, to pursue that career in other states.
And that's not what we want. We want to keep our young people here in West Virginia and provide opportunity for them.
And once they go out of state for education, the chances are of getting them back then really diminishes.
Yeah. Michael, I know you're an advocate of workforce development. It takes a lot of people to have a company like yours. It's physical labor. It's not necessarily easy all the time. Talk a little bit about your initiatives through the association and the importance of workforce development.
Well, our industry, our association, like many other associations and professions, have found themselves with the issue of lack of employees, whether in the office design-wise or in the field. And we found that there's really no pipeline for employees in West Virginia for the green industry. If you go to our surrounding states, Penn State, University of Maryland, Ohio State, they actually have programs at the collegiate level in landscape contracting or horticulture, not necessarily landscape architecture.
Gotcha.
Our state really doesn't have anything like that, not even at the high school level. So the association put together a workforce development committee, and we've been working over the last 3 years to develop green industry programs for the students at the high school and collegiate and community college level. So we're trying to create our own pipeline, but we have ties with the West Virginia National Guard through their Jobs and Hope programs, where they train people who have been rehabilitated, so to speak, in truck driving and equipment operation. We got them to introduce a week-long landscape aspect to that. So we're training at that level. We have a program with Pierpont Community College that it's a 40-hour program we offered last spring, and we're looking to do it this spring, that would train potential employees, but looking to introduce people into the industry and just give them an idea of what we do from a professional standpoint and how you can have a successful career in the green industry in the state.
I like that a lot. I mean, I think it's about casting a vision of what the opportunities are.
And our association had the problem with a lot of other associations. We had a sort of a lack of visibility, a lack of appreciation. Nobody really knew or understood what we did, at the grassroots level or even at the state level or at the educational level. So we've implemented a real marketing campaign over the last 2 years to get the word out about what we do as a profession and what it offers, not only in terms of employment, but also in terms of benefit to the state.
Sure. When I think of landscape, I do think of flowers and trees and shrubs, but also you mentioned horticulture, and that seems to be a part of what you guys are focused on as well. And that, when you talk about that, it could be everything from, vegetables and food, growing food plots and things of that nature. And I see, on social media, you see, I don't know what it is because I get served these ads for and posts for raised beds, but they weave them into the landscape so they actually look beautiful. Right. Is that something that you guys advocate for?
Yeah, we do that a lot, especially like if you look in some of the urban areas of Morgantown there's no room for a huge ornamental landscape and a garden, so you'll see integration and you can create visually appealing vegetable gardens. In some parts of South Park, you would drive through, and between the walkway and the curb, I would see people would plant little vegetable gardens in those strips because of the idea they didn't have much room. Now the city and people who parked there sort of didn't like that, but you have to really maximize the amount of space you want to use.
There's only so much dirt in certain areas, right?
Right. And not only vegetable gardens, but we incorporate play areas, entertainment areas, exercise areas.
And I think about, I'm a big bird watcher. My wife and I love to watch birds, and having a landscape in your home that can attract pollinators, bees and hummingbirds and things of that nature. It's just amazing, like what you can do with just a small lot. We have
big enhancement for those.
Yeah, we have a couple of acres, but most of it's woods in the back of our yard. But right around our home, we love to do that kind of stuff. And Michael, you've driven by our house and work on our lawn, and you have guys that were out there, and it to me is just amazing what you can do.
Jim, can I? I'm sorry but on the
this is
scholarship front,
I
would be very remiss if I didn't mention a scholarship we introduced last year, because the deadline to apply is coming up. It's March 15th.
Yeah.
And this is a scholarship, and it's named in honor of George Longenecker, who was at WVU for years as a landscape architect and horticulture professor, and then very active in developing the Botanic Garden.
Yes.
So in his honor, we have offering this scholarship to a high school senior accepted into either the landscape architecture or horticulture program at WVU. And we're offering full tuition reimbursement for the first 2 years. Wow. And that whole concept is just, to get students start thinking about potential careers in our industry.
Absolutely. He was one of the influencers in creating the West Virginia Botanical Garden
huge,
out of Cheat Lake area.
He's also instrumental in creating the landscape architecture program at WVU. And as far as licensing stamps in West Virginia, he actually had stamp number 1. So he was the first licensed landscape architect in the state.
When did he pass away?
Last year, early last year. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Wow. I had no idea that he was because I've heard that name many times.
Yeah.
Didn't realize that he is the one that was the visionary for the Botanical Garden, which is an amazing place. If you have children or grandkids, take them out there and explore. It's easy hiking.
We actually have a board member that serves on the board of the Botanical Garden as a liaison between our association and the Botanic Garden. Because
wonderful.
And we've been very active in supporting various projects there. Yeah. Recently, the entrance garden, we funded that. Yeah. We funded their storage building, not very sexy, but totally necessary for what they're doing there, and lots of other gardens there.
One of our board members funded the Moon Arch.
Oh, right, yes. Moongate.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Julie Robinson. She's with the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association, and also Michael Biafore with Biafore Landscape Development. And guys, this has been a great conversation. I think very educational, and especially this time of year, people are thinking about getting their landscapes in their gardens in. Julie, one of the things that you hear a lot is these invasive species. We were kind of joking a little bit about some of the ornamental invasive species that come into West Virginia, and you all have done an amazing job with this West Virginia Landscape Plants Guide. Can you talk a little bit about that and how this originated and the idea for it?
Here on the front, at the front of the publication is a list of invasive plants that we certainly do not, nor does the Department of Agriculture, encourage anybody to plant in West Virginia. Yes, they're plants that are brought in often from Asia that have no natural enemies or anything that would limit them here, and they just go wild. I mean, woods are taken over by vines, bittersweet, and
the funny thing is plants like multiflora rose or kudzu were actually introduced by the government as a beneficial plant for either erosion control or natural fence lines, and then they became invasive, and now they're illegal.
And they take over.
They do. They completely take over.
I kind of joked about the Bradford pear, which was very common in landscaping.
Yes.
And landscapers would come in and they would plant these things in developments because they were really pretty, but they're the way they grow, they're not very structurally sound, and they break and they fall, collapse, and then they take over.
Right.
I know
fruit is...
here in Morgantown, we live off the Goshen Road exit, and it's just amazing. Like in the springtime when those things come out, how many of them are.
That's when you can really
right
see
on the exits,
how they take over.
Yeah, they take over. It's incredible.
They do.
They look pretty, but they're not healthy.
Don't plant those.
Yeah, don't plant them. Don't plant them.
Growers more recently have come out with varieties of the calorie pear, Bradford pear.
Yeah.
Bradford is a cultivar, but there's other varieties now that are more self-sterile and don't have the invasive thing. So when you go to purchase plants, you got to be aware of that. Even like barberries, Crimson King, Japanese barberries are real popular on the invasive plant list now. So,
Michael, you brought along a boxwood, but this is a special boxwood. Tell us about what you brought here.
Well, I think everybody noticed a couple years ago there was a boxwood blight that was ravishing boxwoods in the state, across the country, and across the world. Some of your formal gardens in Europe, Vaux-le-Vicomte and Versailles, the ornamental boxwood parterres were just decimated by this blight. Nobody knew what to do. We've arrested some of it through spraying, but one of our members is a grower. It's second or third generation grower, and they specialize in boxwoods. It's Cole's Nursery in Pipestem, West Virginia. And Norman Cole developed a boxwood cultivar. He calls it Little Missy, he named it after his wife, that was disease resistant. So this is one of the few boxwoods that actually is resistant to that blight. And what he's done is propagated it and not only sold it throughout the country, but he is dealing with the agriculture industry in Europe. And he's sending boxwoods from our state to Versailles.
No kidding.
To replace the parterres. And he's working with growers there that they could actually start propagating in Europe. So he's not shipping them there, but he's been to France especially, but Europe several times over the last few years in order to introduce this plant across the world that has this disease resistance.
Very popular. Well, and then this year he introduced Little Mister, which is a taller version.
All right, that's amazing.
With the same qualities.
Who knew?
I know.
Yeah, that's so cool.
It is.
And where can Michael? If somebody's interested in having these in their landscape business or an individual for their home, how do they get in?
Well,
get
good
in touch
many.
with?
Norman supplies a good many of the garden centers, across the state. So
even the big box stores. Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Probably your local garden centers, your local stores. Landscape companies such as us, we use them so much that people can always get in touch with us or other companies around the state to say they're looking for it, because it's kind of the go-to, because not only is it disease resistant, deer don't eat it.
Yeah.
So
Which is
it's
huge
kind
in
of
West
like
Virginia.
a go-to structural plant from a design and cultural standpoint.
Yeah, that's wonderful, and it's actually beautiful. So, yeah, it's great. Thanks for bringing that along, and thanks for the education moment on that. I want to really talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you're facing. Julie, I think from your perspective, what's one of the biggest challenges you're facing right now in just maybe getting the word out there or just letting people know?
As an association?
Yeah, as an association.
Well, we're always looking for new members, and the huge advantage to them to come on board, I think, is our educational opportunities and just the opportunity to reach out to other members. This industry amazes me how supportive they are of each other, and they share their expertise. I came from a journalism background. I was in a newsroom.
All right.
Very competitive, but in this industry, I just see that the people, for whatever reason, they just really seem to share information. So I think that's a huge advantage for folks to come on board.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, like education. Do you have a conference or seminars, or how does that?
We do. We have a big winter conference. We bring in speakers from all over the nation, really. That's a unique opportunity for people to hear speakers of that level in West Virginia. It's a really great educational opportunity. And we also provide ongoing, continuing education credits for folks that have pesticide applicator license, to keep them safe. That's another big mission, is to keep everybody safe out there, and that's an important task as well. So
yeah, that's great.
CPH.
Oh, and sorry, we also have a certification called the Certified Professional Horticulturist, which is a very comprehensive exam that Michael just passed.
Hey, all right, Michael.
Based on
great.
it's self-study, so based on all that
wonderful.
information and some
Very
plant
cool.
identification.
Michael, what's one of the biggest challenges you face as a business owner in the landscape world, and just whether it's people? I hear that quite a bit. What's your biggest challenge?
Well, I mean, you nailed it on the head right there. Is people. We've seen over the past several decades. Especially when I was a kid, your parents encouraged you to get a 4-year degree, go into something more white collar, because they and their ancestors worked really hard. In my family, for instance, it was in the mines and in the foundries. They didn't want that for your kids, so they encouraged you to go to college, which was great. However, we've seemed to lose the understanding of the value of the trades and the professions, as far as just even plumbing, electrical, carpentry. We always joke around that one day we're going to have all these engineers and architects building or designing buildings, but nobody to build them. So we face that same problem in the green industry. There's actually been a falling off in enrollment in landscape architecture, architecture, and engineering across the country over the last 5 years. So lack of employees, and how do we develop those people that want to come into the green industry is the biggest one. But then you have weather. I mean, just give you an example of the drought last summer. I mean, we went probably out of 2.5 months probably not mowing. So for a company our size, that's a big chunk of revenue that you're almost usually guaranteed that you have to then deal with. So fluctuations in revenue due to weather, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, because it is somewhat seasonal, right? And I do know that certain folks that I know that are in the landscape business, they'll plow snow or do something like that in the wintertime, or use that time to maintain their equipment and whatnot.
There's always something to do.
Training.
One reason we had problem we had getting our wheels gripping in like the high school system was counselors, educators, administrators didn't really know what we did. We kind of got the feel that, or they actually said, well, you guys like only work 8 months a year and you just cut grass. We're not going to push our kids into that. Well, that's when we realized we got some work to do.
Like you said, the messaging problem.
Right.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Now, Michael, maybe this is a touchy subject, but immigration workers or migrant workers, I should say, is that something that you have to deal with as well?
We do. There are several members of our association that participate in the H-2B, or temporary guest worker program. It was started by the federal government in 1985 for seasonal businesses such as landscapers, resorts, golf courses,
farms.
Farming is in the H-2A program.
It's a
so it's similar,
program.
but it's
Okay,
actually a different program.
Yeah, good to
So
know.
the issue was, it was started to help people like less than 85 with 66,000 visas. And the first year there were like 750 visas used. This year, 66,000 visas, but 255,000 requests for visas. Wow. Now, the Biden administration did open up things the last 2 years for Congress has provided provisional visas that we were allowed to release. So it was about 120,000 that were released, but still 250. So over 120,000 unanswered temporary seasonal jobs in this country alone that aren't being filled. So it's had a crippling effect on our industry. I've known companies that have gone out of business over the last 10 years.
We couldn't get help.
Right.
We've been in the programs for about 20 years. We started out with 6 H-2B employees, and now we're up to 22. And it's really allowed us to grow our business. The guys they come to work, show up every day, they learn. So it's been a great program. The issue being that we've been lobbying our government in Washington to increase this program, which hopefully this year, we obviously are seeing some decline in employees, through some of the immigration programs. So this is a great way to legally increase seasonal workers.
I think that's the
in
key,
this
is
country.
legally, right?
Yes,
And they want seasonal work.
Yeah.
They want to go back home for a few months.
And it's needed. We need it. Just like you said, Michael, it's a challenge to find people, and you got a great workforce right there that are loyal, hardworking.
One of the challenges is every 2 years, every 4 years, when that administration changes, then you have to start over and re-educate everybody in Congress.
It's frustrating.
The department heads, because they probably never heard of the program.
Yeah.
So it's just an ongoing effort to stay in front of everybody in D.C. and make them understand.
Amazing. Julie, what's your vision for West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association long term?
Well, grow our membership, but also just projects like this that I think are super beneficial to the public as well as to our members. I mean, this is 500 plants that will do well in West Virginia. It's a beautiful 4-color publication, and our plan, we got it out to all of our members this week, but our plan is to have them available in garden centers, members who are garden centers, for the public at no cost.
It's free.
Yep.
Wow. Can people find it online as well?
We're going to have an online version, but where distribution will be just to the garden centers.
Well
It
done.
is. It is
I mean,
a nice.
This is. I'm keeping this copy.
Okay.
Whether you're giving it to me or not, I'm keeping this because I want to know.
You may indeed.
And I love making sure that we're doing things responsibly, and that's what this is all about. Michael, from your perspective for Biafore Landscape Development, what's your vision long term for your company?
Well, my brother and I aren't getting any younger. That's for sure. So we have some, exit strategies we're talking about. However, I mean, my family worked till they
couldn't work.
Right. So we'll probably be involved because it really is a labor of love. Just the people we deal with from a client perspective to the employees. I think our long-term strategy is to stay involved as much as possible. We're trying to grow and diversify a little bit. There's other services that companies are offering, such as hardscape enhancement, paver cleaning and sealing type things. There's a lot of vegetative management that needs to be done. We've had a meeting with the National Guard and some industrial places about keeping vegetation at bay to reduce their maintenance costs. So we're exploring some different kind of services that we can offer.
You think about like I know it's a whole other industry, the forestry management, but even with landscape and your own backyard, we've learned that in California this year, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach area, the maintenance is very important, especially in times of drought, like you mentioned, to making sure that we're keeping our yards, well kept and for a safety perspective.
Right.
Well, and that's where the invasives come in.
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
of times they take over the forests and upset the natural balance. And
But
exactly.
Consider what people in the landscape industry do. I mean, just with gardens and turf and drainage, we reduce erosion, we reduce the potential of flooding, we control stormwater. If you go to beaches and things, with the plantings along there, they're going to maintain the shoreline. There's if you ever go to the beach, they stay off the dunes. They're planted. There's companies that actually specialize in that to maintain the dunes and things to make sure we don't lose beaches. Reforestation when it comes to fires or even clearing.
Exactly.
So it's
so much
such
that goes
a
into
broad.
it. So important.
Right.
What you guys do. One of the things that I like to do when I have leaders here in the studio and on the podcast is talk about leadership. And Julie, I would like to ask you, and then I'll ask you, Michael, the same question. What do you think, Julie, is one of the most important traits of a successful business leader today?
I think maybe adaptability and listening to customers and your employees and not just staying on your version of the straight and narrow.
My way or the highway.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I appreciate that. Michael, from your perspective, leading a company, what do you think is one of the most important traits of a business leader today?
I think I would like to echo what Julie just said. I know back when I was a kid and people had jobs, it was like you went to work, you worked, and you got a paycheck, and that was the relationship. It was simple, and people had a different perspective. Now employers are looking like, what is my growth potential there, not only financially, but can I learn and be professional? What are employers' abilities to work with me? Because a lot of times our employees will have issues with family, children, wives, sick parents. That how willing are you to work with us? So I think creating more of a comfortable family environment is more important these days than it was back then. So that's
I call that culture, and the way of life that you have in your business, right? And what does that mean in taking care of your people? I mean, we just talked extensively about the workforce and how hard it is to find people, but once you get them, you got to make sure that they're well taken care of.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm hearing both you guys say. So that's awesome. Michael, if a young person's out there thinking about man, this sounds pretty interesting. I can work outside. I can maybe work inside in an office and design a landscape, or maybe be thinking about a horticulture career. What would you say to the young person out there thinking about starting a business in this green industry?
I think that the thing that annoyed me most when I was going through a program at WVU and when I was younger, and I would tell people what I was doing, they would say, well, that's great. All you need is a truck and a shovel and you can start your own business. And then that's really so much more to it. But a lot of people jump into this thinking, I'm going to buy a truck and get a shovel and I'll buy some plants and then I'll grow my business from there. But and we just had a seminar at our symposium about challenges in the business, legal, financial, OSHA, safety. So we had an accountant, somebody from Department of Labor, speak to our members to let you know the complexities of starting a business. So my advice is you can't just, you can do it, but while you're doing it, make sure you're talking with other professionals about what you really need from a legal standpoint and a financial standpoint.
Do it right.
And there's so many other ways, classes, coaches out there that can help you develop you and your business, because it's real easy to grow real fast, especially if you're young and you have a lot of energy. But then how do you get to that next level?
That's right.
Without, going backwards. So
well, I say this quite often, and Michael, you hit on a very important topic, I think. And what I say is it's very easy to start a business. You could start with just a shovel, really, right? Or a lawnmower, right? To get into the green industry.
$120 for a business license.
That's right. And you could do it like in an hour online. In West Virginia, they make the process very simple with the Secretary of State's office. So starting a business is very easy. Growing a business is very difficult.
Exactly.
Especially, more than a year or 2 or 3 or 5 or 10.
Right. And that's why knowing your employees and how to manage your employees is important, because you're not going to grow without employees.
That's right.
Just because you're an expert in what you do and you know this doesn't mean that just because you're a good chef doesn't mean you're going to be a good restaurant owner.
Amen.
But there's
the
ways,
E-Myth, right?
Right, exactly.
Michael Gerber.
But to get from one level to the other, you just have to be open-minded and know that I got into this business because I liked working outside. I haven't been outside in 15 years. So there's going to be some evolving that you're going to have to be.
I think he is occasionally questioned as to why he never gets dirty.
Right, yes. So I say, just because I'm not dirty doesn't mean I'm not working.
That's right. Yeah, that's good. That's really good insight, and I really appreciate that. Guys, we've covered a lot in this interview, and I appreciate you guys very much, and very much am grateful for the services you provide to West Virginia. Julie, is there anything else you think people would like to know or need to know about the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association, or your personal story?
As you say, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah,
so.
that's great.
Yeah.
How can folks learn more about what you do, and maybe even get information on how to become a member?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Go to our website, WVNLA.org. So the name of the association, and all that information is available there. Or follow us on Facebook.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn. So.
And they can even get on there and figure out where they can order or get a free copy of the Landscape Plants for West Virginia guide. And this, guys,
they can't do that right now. It's not set up
yet. But this is beautiful, and I think it's just an amazing thing. And I'm going to encourage people to get this if you're interested in having a beautiful space, whether it's in your business or your maybe it's a government agency that you're responsible for, or your home. Michael, is there anything else you think folks need to know about your story?
Yeah, I think so, especially the young high school and early college age people. If you like what we're saying, or if you're considering a profession in the green industry, reach out to Julie or myself. I personally have taken high school kids over to WVU and met with faculty and oriented them to the landscape architecture program there. I've had several young people that have shadowed me and my guys during the day that were thinking about the program and to see what it was really about. Yeah. So anybody, across the state, our members are willing to talk with you, meet with you,
or even contact a landscaper for a summer job. That's a great way to get.
That's even better.
They're looking for
the
employees.
information's out there, and between the association and all our members, we're willing to just
get plugged in.
Right.
I had been over to WVU's. I think it was part of the horticulture. Is over there in Ag Sciences over there. Is that correct? Over in Evansdale campus.
Yeah, the new building.
Yeah, the new building, and there was a project. I think the guy's name was Sven Verlinden. Is he
Sven,
still over there?
Yeah, Sven is on sabbatical right now, but yes, he's
Yeah,
still there.
yeah, it was
touching
amazing
him.
what he's doing
He's
over
a
there,
great guy.
even with
Yeah.
hydroponics
Yes.
and all sorts of
we've worked
amazing.
closely with Sven as association
Yes, we
because
have.
some of our grant money has gone to the horticulture
Yeah.
department to help develop their programs.
That's
there
great.
as
Yeah,
well.
he's a great
Travel,
guy.
and we
Okay.
often help with that.
Amazing. And Michael, from your business perspective, how can folks? Do you have a website as well?
They can go to our website at biafore.com or Facebook, but we're out
Yeah.
there. And my brother and I, we really have a love for this industry, and we'd like to help whoever is interested in it.
Yeah, I love that. We'll make sure we have links to all that stuff, contact
great.
links for folks to get in touch with you guys. You can just click on the link and
Right.
and go to both your organizations. Our guests once again today are Julie Robinson with the West Virginia Nursery and Landscape Association, the executive director there. Julie, thank you so much. You're a very important treasure for West Virginia and
how
your
kind.
your agency and what your association, what you're doing. And Michael Biafore with Biafore Landscape Development. Michael, thank you for everything you do. And a personal note, thank you for taking care of my lawn for all these years.
Thank you for appreciating what we do.
Yeah, you guys do a
Yes,
great job. It's been an honor to have you on the show, and I think what both of you are doing for the beautification and the safety and the all the important things that go along with landscape and landscape development. Thank you guys for everything you do for West Virginia to keep us shining and beautiful.
Thank
I love
you,
it.
Jim. Our pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, that's a wrap on another episode of Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positivelywv.com. And of course, we appreciate your encouragement along the way, sharing these stories of Julie and Michael and everything they're doing to keep West Virginia beautiful and keep people plugged in and employed in this important green industry. And absolutely, we really do appreciate that. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, Interaction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, BreezeLine, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.